from Midas Letter Studio. Oh, 100% live this time.
We're live.
You'll notice that I don't have Karl in front of me. I don't have Greg in front of me. We've got a lot of great guests coming up. We've got Zenabis coming on the show. Sean Dollinger and Namaste is coming on the show. We've got Rubicon coming on the show. But before that, and surprise, Cam Bally.
Surprise.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
Doing very well. So we were chatting a little bit here before going live about your company.
Yes.
And
that would be Aurora Cannabis.
Aurora Cannabis. And I invested in you. We were saying really early on, about $2. There's people before me, and you know what? Good on you. But I did $2. I still did well.
Thank you for being an ACB shareholder.
You're welcome. But we were talking about the progress that you've been making over the last while. And it's non-stop. Every time I see you come on this show or another show, you have another development. What are you guys doing right now? What's got your interest?
Oh, a bunch of things. So you saw our earnings last week. They were outstanding. Really, I think the class of the sector for now. And we posted the highest revenue number ever recorded by a cannabis company. But behind that is an incredible amount of activity. So organic growth, we're ramping up production at our facilities across the country. We now have 8 facilities in production in Canada, 7 in Canada and 1 in Europe. So our production is increasing very, very rapidly. We are launching new products. We are expanding into additional markets. So we're operating in 20 countries right now, and there are more to be announced in the short term. And the reason why is because new medical cannabis systems are cascading open around the world, and it's happening at an incredible pace. So, it's 7 days a week.
It's
nonstop, but it's the most satisfying and creative work that any of us have ever done. So you won't find anybody complaining about the hours.
Yeah, and it is crazy because you're saying you're in 20 and continue to grow. It's remarkable. It's like almost every week we're hearing about a new country coming out, whether it's some sort of medical or recreational. You're not going to stop this. No. For anyone who thinks that this is this is just the beginning.
I've classified it before as a global megatrend. And it is sweeping the world, and there is no stopping us, us as the leading companies or us as participants in this sector. The patients are calling for medical cannabis to be accessible. The good thing is the governments are responsive. So we've been meeting with governments, in the Americas, in Europe, in Australia, and we're hearing the same thing. They're very favorable toward the creation of medical cannabis systems. They want them to be rules-based and rigorously regulated, like Canada's, which has served as a model for the world, a very effective one, I might add, and credit to our Health Canada public servants. And they also want to see the economic benefits from that.
Absolutely.
Which is natural, right?
Yeah.
So it's happening very fast, and what we're seeing that's new and different is institutions, financial institutions, institutional investors are paying attention in a new way. So last week, our CEO Terry and our CFO Glenn and our chairman Michael and I spent a couple of days marketing in New York to major institutions, and next week it'll be Boston. And 2 weeks ago, it was a couple dozen or more institutions in Australia, and the week before that it was Frankfurt, and 2 weeks before that it was London. Around the world, the institutions are sitting up and they're paying attention because they have been persuaded now that this is a real industry that's here for the long term.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how rapidly it's happened because we fought legalization of cannabis for decades, and they're still doing the fight in the United States. I think that will, reform will win. I'm quite confident of it because people are looking at this now and thinking, why is it a Schedule I drug when a Schedule I drug is extremely addictive and has no medical properties? I think we have gone well past proving that there are not just a few medical properties. Yeah. There are so many that we don't even recognize all of them. Like there's so much research going into it. So the opportunity for first movers like yourself, where you guys have put a lot of time and effort in your acquisitions of numerous large companies, MedRelief, all of them, CanAmed, these are really important acquisitions.
Oh, and internationally, ICC Labs in Latin America, which we're just in the process of closing right now. Yeah. Padanios, now Aurora Deutschland in Europe, which is the biggest medical cannabis distributor in Europe. These are early and critically important moves. Yeah. that position us for the long-term future, for long-term success.
And ICC Labs, actually, that's a really interesting one. That was actually my third or fourth investment in a cannabis company ever. And it's funny
Tell
that
me you were also in Canamed and MedRelief. We keep acquiring the companies you've invested in.
Funny enough, I have not. Those are the two, but I was in Bedrocan.
Oh, really?
So Bedrocan turned into cannabis.
I started my medical cannabis career at Bedrocan.
In Bedrocan, yeah. So I've been following you, not even purposely. But when it comes to ICC Labs, I don't think people really recognize how, like, I kept looking at them thinking, how has no one bought this company yet when they're one of two licensed in Uruguay? They're in Colombia. Yeah. They've got deals with Nuvera, now Fria. They've got deals with Mexico, with Brasliv in Brazil. That is all Latin America.
And a network of contacts that management team has across that continent, including in countries that you haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really exciting move, and we're waiting now just for the final approval from the cannabis regulator in Uruguay to consider that one closed.
Awesome. Well, we don't have much time because this was just out of the blue, so thanks for coming on. But
it's an impromptu opportunity.
Exactly. We just threw into here. I kicked Greg and Karl out right away. But one thing I did want to touch on, because this is something that as an investor I've been looking into a lot, and we've been telling our community a lot to look into, is stop going with all this speculation and all these projections. Like, projections are good, but we start looking for companies that are growing properly, expanding properly. Do they have a place to sell? And when we were talking about that earlier, you went into Larson and what you're doing with your facility.
Thomas Larson, yes.
What is different about your facility? What's going to make you thrive?
Okay, so what's different for Aurora overall is that the vast majority of our production will always be indoor facilities in precisely controlled environments. And all of our facilities built to EU GMP standards, European Union Good Manufacturing Practices standards. And that's from our very first facility, Aurora Mountain, north of Calgary, which was the first purpose-built cannabis production facility in the world, to our knowledge. And then Aurora Sky, the first of our Sky class facilities. And what's differentiated for Aurora about that is enormous. We're the only ones in the world who are producing mass-scale indoor facilities with the glass roof that allow us to harness the power of the sun, and just as many lights per square foot as in our indoor facilities. So we have that optionality and that flexibility to ensure there's always the optimal amount of light on the canopy. But the benefits of these massive indoor facilities with these HVAC systems that could power an aircraft carrier is it gives us the ability to precisely manage the environment in which the cannabis grows. And that is a critical distinction. It means that we're able to do this on a very, very consistent basis. And at our Sky Class facilities, we use strains optimized to an 8-week cycle. So 8 weeks, take down a harvest and then replant. 8 weeks, 8 weeks, 8 weeks across all of the rooms. And at Sky, there are 17 flower rooms, each of which is 34,000 square feet. So really massive scale. But the precision environmental control means that we have that predictability over time. And it gives us greater production efficiency than you would get in a traditional greenhouse. Because whereas a traditional greenhouse may give you 3 grow cycles per year, with these tightly controlled indoor environments, we can get better than 6 cycles per year. So the production efficiency per square foot is the highest in the world. The quality of the cannabis, because it's in such a perfect environment, is, it's outstanding. It's absolutely top premium quality product. And the predictability of it is amazing. So we've effectively de-risked the production of the raw material. And that's very, very important, because no matter what you do with the product, create derivative products, no matter how you brand it, you've still got to have predictable, consistent, low-cost access to that raw material. And so what we've done is, together with Thomas Larson, who now heads up Aurora Larson Projects, ALPS, we've invented the most advanced cannabis production technology in the world, and we've created a technology that is both replicable and scalable on a global basis, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm glad. Can you tell he's excited about his company?
Just a little.
Can you tell?
Yeah.
Well, you're coming back on the show. For those who are watching the network, come back sometime after 3 p.m. because you're sitting down with James for a more in-depth interview as well. Appreciate you just coming on and starting up the show. We're going to switch over to Zenabis here.
Nice to do this for the first time.
And we'll switch over to Zenabis now. And we're here today with Rick Brar, co-founder and CEO of Zenabis. We're here from the Aria, I believe it is.
Aria Hotel, yes.
Live from Las Vegas. I appreciate the time. It's been very, very busy throughout the last few days of all the events that are going on, but you've taken a moment to come into your suite, and we get to ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. So for people who aren't too aware of Zenabis, it's been a private company for its existence. We're going to be going public soon. Can you talk about who you are, what your company does, and the transaction that just happened as well?
Sure, yeah. So Zenabis is a large private LP, and we've announced a RTO transaction which completes at the end of this year. And by virtue of that, we'll be one of the larger public companies in this space. We've been doing this now for 5 years. We have a considerable experience on our team. My partners, my co-founders, Monty, Mark, myself, we've been involved in pharmaceutical distribution and in agricultural products and consumer packaged goods distribution now for 15, 20 years. We, both sides, my group and Monty and Mark's group, we divested our other businesses and are 100% focused now, last 5 years, on the cannabis industry globally.
And what a time to be a part of it too, because it's changing. It's changing like crazy. One country after another is coming online. When you do have the transaction go through and you've amalgamated with Bevo, how many square footage of greenhouse or outdoor grow, or what are the numbers that investors should be looking for?
Sure. Lots of our stuff will be out in the circular, and that'll be published here in the coming weeks. But overall, what it is that there's a combined 660,000 square feet on the Zenabis LPs, which is indoor, commercial, pharmaceutical grade industrial warehouse space. And then with Bevo, we get to another 2.8 million square feet of highly sophisticated, state-of-the-art greenhouse space. And Bevo Agro is they're North America's largest plant propagation company. And from take it from a grower, propagating the plant is the hardest part. And to have someone as Bevo become our partner in the future is really exciting because of the technological advancements that they have already existing in their place. So the curve to get that facility cannabis ready is a lot less than what it would be in other greenhouses that would be growing or doing other specific purposes.
No, and that's a massive that's a massive. I was not land package is the wrong word, but square footage for grow, because that'll put you right up there with the lead people in Canada and North America. And for those who didn't know about Zenabis as a private company, seemingly almost out of nowhere. So it's really, really interesting. And this is going to be publicly traded as well?
Yes, yeah. So Bevo Agro and Sun Farm will merge to form Zenabis Global, and taking the name from our LPs. And Zenabis Global will be publicly traded, currently under the Bevo sign, which is BVO. .v, and in the future we may look at repurposing that towards the Zenabis name.
Very nice. And when it comes to legalization, we're now almost exactly a month past the first month of legalization, and there's been hiccups, there's been a few issues, but there's also been a lot of demand. What do you see happening in the cannabis space over the next year or so? Do you think we're going to keep going with this supply crunch we have? Do you think the demand will get higher?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're definitely of the mindset that the demand globally for cannabis is going to continue to increase. You know, we've gone from one country with a very small population in Uruguay having recreational cannabis to Canada, which has 10 times the population, and now the second country recreationally. We've gone from 4 or 5 countries when we first started this journey 5 years ago to now 35 countries where cannabis is legal. I had the pleasure of being invited to the UK Parliament. The Parliament for the inaugural announcement about legalization in the UK a few weeks ago. And, it was a real honor to be invited. We were one of a very few number of LPs that were given that privilege. And, UK was, I believe, the 36th country now to announce medicinally. And they did it in very short order, right? They went from Billy Caldwell's story breaking to allowing for the legalization of medicinal cannabis in very short order. So more and more countries are paying attention. The demand for great Canadian products is going to be there, and the global demand for cannabis is going to be there as well. So I don't see, the pressure easing up on cannabis companies to produce amazing products, whether it's dry flower, oils, or any of the other products that the government allows us to produce. I don't see that demand easing up anytime soon.
No, and I don't either. And especially in Vegas now where we are, and look at these other states that have gone completely legal where they do have edibles and they have these other means of consuming cannabis. Canada isn't, like, we only have flour and oils that you're allowed, and I think tinctures. But there are so many different products. If you go to like Planet 13 just down the road from here, if you go to these other, it's amazing. The gummies, the high-end chocolates, the drinks, the additives, that in itself, when that gets allowed in Canada, I can only imagine will increase that demand even more, because all those people who didn't want to smoke necessarily, because there's going to be a lot of people out there who don't want to smoke a flower, but if they can have like a really nice gummy, or I saw something at the expo where it was like a cake. So you can eat the whole cake, and so it's not just one bite and all of a sudden you can't move anymore. You get to enjoy it. So, and we haven't even started that in Canada. So they're talking about, there's going to be too much supply, or how they're going to keep up the demand, whatever it be in Canada. That demand is going to increase exponentially as we start allowing these products.
For sure.
And when it comes to abroad, so we spoke about global. Do you currently have a GMP facility? Are you aiming to have that aspect? What is Zenabis going to be doing in the global aspect that you're allowed talking about, at least?
I can tell you that the goal is to have very strict standards of production. So if that's the goal, then having a GMP certification forces compliance towards that. In our case, we have one facility in Delta, British Columbia, our first facility, which we've readied for GMP inspection. We've gone through several third-party audits on that facility, and now we're waiting for the European authorities to come and inspect that. That'll be our first GMP facility, and we're hoping to have that in Q1 of 2019 at the latest. And then we've right away concurrently taken those learnings from what we've done in the GMP or the soon-to-be GMP certified facility in Delta, and we've already rolled it out to our Atholville facility. So as soon as Delta is up and running, the next one to be certified will be Atholville. And from Atholville, New Brunswick, we'll then get our Stellarton facility certified GMP after that, EU GMP, and of course any global standard that needs to be met for that.
No, and that's good to hear, because again, as you start looking into the industry even more, you need to start looking for companies that are going to be having the product to be able to sell, so a large package of greenhouses and indoor, whatever have you, but also the ability to really tap that global market, especially for however long we're going to have this head start. It's not going to last forever. I can't see the United States being much longer before going abroad, but it gives Canadian companies that much more of an advantage, where you have the time now to be, setting those footprints and getting out there.
Yeah, that experience. Yeah, that experience from the previous industries we were in, for example, with our company International Herbs, we were growing or Cascadia Specialties, or one of our Atlas PSC, which were consumer product companies, or organic foods, or organic herbs, conventional herbs, culinary herbs that we were using and producing in different countries around the world with grow partners around the world. We quickly learned that getting third-party audits and growing to GACP standards or GAPP standards, something that's auditable, something that tracks everything from seed to sale, and also then something that takes the consumer feedback, and you're able to trace it back to lot codes and trace it back to the exact square footage of farm where the product came from, whether that was grown in Colombia or in Peru or in California or Arizona. For us, we had a responsibility by virtue of the systems that we adhere to, these third-party audited systems, some implemented by our customers and some implemented by our own quality assurance standards, that we were able to trace it down to the square footage of land, the source of the seed, and all of the hands and people and processes that touched it before the consumer got to experience it. And we're applying that same knowledge and that same experience to cannabis now for the last 5 years.
Well, hey, I appreciate the time you've taken for us and for all the investors and viewers that are watching. As we said earlier, you're going to be, it's BEVO on the Venture Exchange. It is currently halted, I believe. Coming up, it already has all now.
Yeah, so really interesting, really unique in our case, because Bevo is an operating facility. It's not a shell that we're RTOing into, right? They're an amazing company. They do $33 million approximately in sales. They have an $8 million EBITDA approximately, and there's no reason for them to stay on halt. So the exchange, we presented all the materials to the exchange, and the exchange lifted the halt within a couple of weeks of reviewing the materials. So people have the ability to go and invest and buy Bevo Agro now. And if you read the investor materials on their website and on our website, our RTO doesn't complete, obviously, until the end of this year. Prior to that, it's a 1-to-1 exchange ratio, Bevo for a Zenabis share. So if you invest in Bevo today, you get one Zenabis share. You also get one share of Cubic Farms, which is a spin-off that's happening out of Bevo. Amazing vertical farming technology that the founders of Bevo Farms invented, and they'll be spinning that company off as Cubic Farms. And being in agriculture, it's really exciting to see the first vertical farming system that's come along that I know of that's highly profitable and can produce the crops at similar costs or better costs than outdoor growing. So really, really amazing stuff there too.
Yeah, that's quite significant if they can pull that off as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Get a share, one share of Bevo, one share of Cubic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, I appreciate your time very much. I know how busy it's been in Vegas. You look at some of the calendars of executives here, and it's every half hour or 15 minutes you got something scheduled. So I always appreciate your time. And if you want to look for more, can they go to our website to look you up as well?
Yeah, Zenabis.com. Thank you very much.
And we are live, and I found our two co-hosts.
The band's back together.
We're back.
That's right, boys.
That was
you
great.
Just interviewed
Zenabis and Cam Batley as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sorry about the lighting. For those who are commenting lighting, I do a lot of things. I am not a cameraman, and we did not take our cameraman to Vegas. So that's what you get sometimes. But we did great. I learned a lot of good stuff about this company there. And yeah, Cam Batley, that was spur of the moment. Just sitting in the seat, and all of a sudden, James looks over and goes, "You guys should start the show." Okay.
Who are you to argue, right?
Who am I to argue? With this guy right here. Can we see that? Who are we to argue with that guy right there? I wouldn't argue with him.
Well, you used to serve steaks, and now you're interviewing your idol.
Yeah, just Sai Kwan, that guy on Stockhouse. I'm smarter than you, so it doesn't matter. But that guy's always chirping. We went back and forth one time, and he just stopped because I'm sorry, I'm much smarter than you are. And then a few months later, he went back, and you can't beat,
we had to get a bigger chair for his ego.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
We're just giving them that.
How did I get this chair, by the way? I don't know how I got this.
Shout out.
Yeah. So
I invited them to come do a live with me, but they won't do it.
Who's that?
Oh, these guys.
You're pointing at me.
Stockhouse.
Oh, Stockhouse.
I was like, hey, if you guys want to come and do a live, we can talk about it. But they just want to know.
Oh man, they've got
They're paid.
They got their shield on, their sword, they got battle war paint on, and they've got a computer at hand, man. They're warriors.
Well, I think some of them are pretty crafty. I think some of them have done well. They've shorted. Shorted. And listen, hey, it's nothing personal. I mean, if you're shorting and the thing was at 60, 70, 80 cents, you've done very well.
What's like stronger, fear or FOMO? You know what I mean?
Well, seeing fear is in FOMO. I don't know.
That's a good question.
Is that for good luck?
Thank you.
So what's crazy about what's going on right now? What are we looking at, guys?
It's green, so that's kind of happy to see. It's
Sigh of relief.
Sigh of relief, 100%.
Isn't it funny how it's like 2 days red, 3 days red, and then you get this like massive jump of 15-20% in some of these companies?
You know what? When we're down here, I can't follow the market and I can't follow the news like I normally do, so I really don't have any. I don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the S&P is doing. I can't get it up here.
Why? What's
I don't know if Trump has tweeted out anything about trades.
Oh my goodness! You
But,
never know.
it could affect the market, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's looking pretty good. I mean, mining not so much.
You know what we should talk about? What was that company? Did they lose their license today?
Oh, Ascent
Ascent.
Industries.
Yeah, so
It could be revoked, I saw.
I haven't fully looked into it. I think you looked into it a little bit more. You said the CEO resigned too?
Yeah, I think he did. Yep. I mean, come on. So what happened? Like,
it's a shame because that news, just like you said, that news broke today. When we get to the studio, it's nonstop.
It's nonstop.
We're doing interviews. We're talking to different people. We're preparing for this show. So this is one of the only days of the week we're a little bit unplugged.
We did have time
through.
to get pizza.
look at that. Look at that.
Yeah,
bid
and you
on-
had time to read it.
Look at that bid on GGB.
What do you got?
What's it showing?
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Yep.
It's a nice one. DGB's been ripping.
I'll tell you.
Let's go to
I know
Cannabis.
Mr. West is liking the little GGB.
We've
I'm
got
liking it. I own it.
double-digit movers. We have CanTrust up 12%. We have MMJ up 27.5%. We've got Cura up 11.45%. They got a little bit of a beating recently, though. And that's it for the double mover that I'm watching, at least, in Canada. United States, what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing in the States? Only double move, GGB, 12.83%. And then
You have a position?
It's like a Greek dance.
the turkey is almost 10%. TRTC, Terra Tech, who just got bought out or bought.
Taste like
Golden Leaf
Terra
Holdings, one of those two. See what? So, what did you find out that was interesting this week? We've got a couple minutes before we're jumping over to Sean Dollinger.
Already? He's a cool guy. You know, we talked to him today for a solid 20 minutes
They've
off
got
camera.
a lot
Yeah.
of things going on.
He does. There's a lot of haters on Namaste. Who
cares? Fuck them.
And it doesn't make, like, when you look at what he's actually doing, if there's a lot they're doing and they need to succeed, they need to
know that
actually get
gift?
it done.
You know that
but
gift?
they can. Ooh,
You
what gift?
think?
You have to think.
Yeah.
Something not many of us do.
I think
but
Namaste is ahead of the curve a little bit in certain areas. Honestly, like these companies have to, they have to think out of the box when it comes to getting their name out there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
these guys are very good at that, and that's good leadership. So if you're hating on that, shame on you.
Where's the camera?
Well, why don't we go to that, because we talked about what they're doing differently, some different developments that are coming up, and we hit the questions that we went to the Namaste Facebook group and asked them what they wanted to know from Sean. We went through a couple of those, so why don't we go there now, Sean Dollinger and Namaste. And we're in studio today with Sean Dollinger, co-founder and CEO of Namaste. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much for having us on again.
Absolutely, and I think the last we spoke was probably about 4 to 6 weeks ago or so. So a lot has happened in that time. How's been the first month or so of legalization?
It's been amazing. You know, for Namaste being a vaporizer company, one thing that I never expected was for our vaporizer sales to pop. Just to give you an idea, on legalization day, we did in the one day what we did all of 2017 in October. So that was a fantastic surprise. So it's been great.
Yeah, vaporizers, the more I'm seeing, we just got back from Vegas, the MJ Biz conference. I know you were there as well.
Absolutely.
And you go to the dispensaries over there, and I'd say half their product lines are vaporizers in one way or another. It's amazing that not necessarily the actual liquid isn't available in Canada yet, or they're slowly getting there, but when it does happen, I think vaporizers are going to be a really big revenue generator for all these LPs, opposed to just flower.
Yeah, absolutely. And not too long ago, we announced an exclusive distribution agreement with Aurora, where we power their store for vaporizers and supply them for fulfillment. And they've been in front of the ball by going ahead and offering that whole product line. And like you said, I think everybody's going to kind of follow in that direction.
Yeah, and I really do, because it's people say quote unquote healthier. And at the end of the day, I personally believe it's better than smoking just flower, but everyone has their own preferences, and you're going to find that throughout the market.
Absolutely, and vaporizers are great for flower as well, believe it or not. It actually prolongs the use of the item and makes it super clean to do. And some people don't know how to, for example, roll their cannabis. So the vaporizers allow for a really simple and easy solution.
Oh, perfect. Well, let's talk about a couple things that have happened recently. One of which was actually, I believe, this morning. Is it Buds? I'm messing up the website. It was Buds to Go?
Buds to Go.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're fantastic guys. You know, one thing, and we could speak about the website in a sec, but their team is so unbelievably talented. Simon and Merlin and Josh, the three partners over there, they're great, and they each bring their own angle and avenue of expertise. So besides having a website now that has 70,000 users out there and I'd say some of the best traffic in the space in Canada, Namaste is now able to integrate it on its platform and it to become a licensed producing website.
Yeah. And it's interesting because one of the elements I'm finding so much speaking to other CEOs and just speaking to people in the industry, obviously marketing is a huge issue for Canadian cannabis companies. So when you have issues with marketing, you have issues with packaging where the packaging is just, we won't go there, the packaging, too much opinion for myself will come out. But when you're looking at these different elements, you need to find a way to reach people. And it sounds like Buds to Go, I think I read it's something like 400,000 views a month or something like that. Yeah. That's a significant amount of people who could potentially become patients of CanMart.
Well, as I said, I think it's some of the best traffic in Canada that they're getting for certain keywords out there that are extremely powerful keywords in Canada. And you've hit it bang on the marketing, right? It's very hard to market in this industry. So if you have the organic traffic coming to the website, you could then take a customer through the journey and help them make the choices. And that's where we're using our technology to really help. And even on the packaging you're talking about, Namaste is doing things outside the box. We're working with this company called YPB out of Australia, which is a trust company to make sure that, hey, if you bought Aurora's product, that it's actually Aurora's product. Yeah. And through the QR codes, we could now do augmented reality where you go ahead and you put your phone on the package and boom, all of a sudden you get this whole experience explanation of the product in depth, and again, we don't know of any other company doing it in the entire space.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting actually. Yeah. And speaking of actually your website and actually delivering cannabis, obviously we've had an issue with Canada Post going on rotating strikes. I think like a couple of days after the legalization, if not that exact day. How is CanMart and Namaste, how are you getting your product out to your different users and medical patients? And do you find that there's an opportunity there to take even more of a market share in that delivery of cannabis?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up. When Namaste started on its e-commerce site, there's a lot of challenges we faced. We're obviously the leading B2C vaporizer company in the world. Even like you said, you see all these vaporizers and the dispensaries. So even with all these dispensaries popping up everywhere and all the online competition, Namaste has remained ahead of the curve, right? Our revenue keeps growing and we stay in front of our competition. But when we entered into Canada on the cannabis side of things, we had to make sure that we followed regulations and rolled it out right. And the government really likes Ample Organics, what they've built. They were one of the first companies to do the seed to sale management. So we had to integrate our technology and our platforms that we have globally on that as essentially the backbone, or middleware at least, to be able to do and meet all the protocol. So we started only with about 6 products on our website. And then today we're already up to 16, and next week we'll be up to 24. And the reason I bring this up is I've told our investors, our shareholders, and anybody who wrote in, this isn't a sprint. This industry's here to stay. We want to do it right. And if you speak to any of the customers who've ordered cannabis from our website so far, they've had a fantastic experience. I'd prefer to start with 5 orders the first week, 20 orders the second week, and keep that exponentially growing than to do a rollout like some of the governments have, like the government stores, right? Where they did have all these different SKUs and products, but look what's happened. People are going ahead, writing, I'm waiting for my cannabis for 3 weeks. That now ruins that customer experience why are they going to be in a rush to go back there? Won't they give Namaste a chance? Won't they come and see what makes CanMart different than all the other stores across Canada? And that's what we're after. We're after a relationship, an education journey with our customers using our AI and machine learning to put the right products in front of your eyes.
Yeah. And you brought up an important point there of, you only get one first impression. And it's amazing to see, checking my personal Facebook or different social media mediums, and you're seeing people where they've been consumers for years. We all know the gray market and black market was thriving in Canada, and that's half the reason why we went legal, to just to get it all out in the open. But you're seeing a lot of people have terrible experiences, whether it was a poor product. There's some issues with product not coming the right weight. You didn't watch them open it, so it's hearsay, but these are the things that are coming out. But one of the biggest ones is just the sheer weight for their product, where they're now looking like, I'm never going to try that again. You only get one chance to make a first impression.
Well, that's the difference, right? Starting next week in Toronto, with our technology, we're going to actually be able to offer a 4-hour window for delivery. I don't know of any other company doing it out there where...
That's fast.
It's in the GTA, literally, you could go on our website, be connected to a nurse practitioner in 10 to 15 minutes, get your medical license, be put back into the CanMart experience, which now will have 24 different strains. Pre-rolls are now going to be available next week on our website, smaller packages, because we started with larger packages. Now you'll be able to get samples and different sizes. And then through our investment in Pineapple Express, where we own 20% of the company, and they're doing great. In Manitoba, they launched over there, and the results, and Randy calls me every day to give me updates. He's super passionate and excited. He can't wait to blow it out of the water here next week. And we can't wait to record a whole experience from somebody going on our website, clicking, being connected to the nurse practitioner, placing their order, and getting it delivered to their doorstep within 4 hours.
Yeah, and the 4 hours is key. If you can do that, it's actually, I know there's still some illegal dispensaries throughout Toronto where they do have delivery service like that. I think that is a competitive advantage if you're able to get it within that 4-hour window. Even just the same day, funny enough, people would be, I can't believe it actually came today, compared to what's
or even
recently
next day,
happened.
right? Anywhere in Canada, if we could go ahead and offer, if you order from CanMart today by 7 p.m. because we're located right by the Pearson Airport, and you get it to your doorstep by noon the next day, I think everybody would be really happy with that to begin with.
Yeah. Well, that actually leads into some questions from our audience. We reached out to the Namaste Facebook group. Let them know we're having an interview. I always like to know what investors are wanting to know. So there's a couple of questions here. One of which was actually exactly what you just said there about your store near the airport. And by the airport, we mean Pearson, Toronto. How are you going to be marketing that store? Are you going to be doing flyers? Are there billboards? Have you guys created that process of how we're going to say, hey, this is Namaste, here we are?
Well, it goes back to something earlier you spoke about, advertising. We're really limited on what you can do, and we need to make sure that we comply with all rules and regulations. That's the #1 most important thing for Namaste. Pearson, I looked it up just for fun, 50 million travelers through Pearson Airport. And it's almost like the law was written for Namaste, because the way that it read, and we never thought we'd be able to have a rec store, it says that each LP is allowed one recreational store, and it needs to be connected to your facility. And our facility happens to be located a mile from Pearson Airport. If you think about Namaste, we have 1.5 million customers around the world. To give you a comparison, Canopy has 180,000 customers. Namaste, 1.5 million. When people land from the UK, when people land from Australia, when all these different people come, they already know the name Namaste. There's going to be excitement driven around that for them to come and experience cannabis at our facility. The other cool thing about Namaste is, if this was, for example, Canopies, they would only have Canopy products on their shelf. As you know, we're not a cultivator. We buy product from other licensed producers to create a marketplace that's completely unbiased, giving our customers selection. People will be able to land and have a whole selection of product from all different licensed producers. I think we're the only ones doing anything like that close to the airport.
Yeah, it should be interesting. And in Pierce, I didn't know they had 55 million. I knew it was a really busy airport. Toronto, everyone, whether to stop over to other provinces in our country, 55 million, so that's a good number. Another question from our audience is in regards to Quebec. There was a new premier who was voted in recently. Since you guys were out of Quebec, do you have a strategy, or are you going to be pursuing to get back into Quebec now that possibly with this new premier you might be able to get back in?
Namaste takes a whole approach about education. Cannabis, at the end of the day, it's a medicine. And if it's used wrong, people can have bad experiences. And Namaste's stance is let's educate. Let's help people have a great journey using the medicine for whatever they need it for. And we will be launching a concept where we could go ahead and educate people across Canada through a interesting model. And that's what we'll be looking to put into Quebec in the coming months.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's always hard dealing with Quebec. This is a personal opinion of my own. I've been a Canadian my whole life, and I look into politics a lot. And of all the different provinces, there's, Quebec does a very good job of keeping their own in there. So it's really hard for outside companies to get in there. So, but any ability of getting in there is fantastic, and we just take it from there, from the sounds of it.
Yeah, and I'm a Montrealer. I was born and raised in Montreal.
I didn't know that, actually.
And born and raised, was there till I was 19.
Nice.
So,
well, there you go. We got the tie.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows where that leads?
Yeah. Now, one other really good question that someone was asking about is your craft program for micro cultivators. So not a lot of people are talking about the micro grows yet, and I don't know why, because that's actually, I believe, going to be a very strategic market for people to get into, because if you're a grower and you're really passionate about what you do, you might not take an LP model. You might not want to do a 500,000 square foot facility. You might want to do a smaller one, or just in general, I think the craft grower is just like, nice whiskey that's been aged, 15 plus years, whatever it is, or wine. You get these craft or small batch, if you're talking about alcohol, small batch alcohol or craft grows. I think there's going to be a lot of quality that comes out of there, a lot of flavor. Like, that's where the connoisseurs are going to be going towards. Is that type of, is that something that you are gearing towards? I want or these micro grows because I know they're going to be having some of the highest quality cannabis, or what's your strategy with that?
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I think that the connoisseur knows that you can't grow cannabis on such a large scale and still get that quality. So we constantly hear, we have this X amount of square feet, over 1 million square feet. I have the largest LP. What's going to happen there, that product's just going to become a standard product. And what happens if people don't really like it? That's going to end up driving the price down. It's all about supply and demand. Have you heard of a company called Supreme?
Yep.
So for your viewers who might not know Supreme, and they should definitely check out that whole concept. It's pretty unbelievable. All the kids love it these days, and adults. And they create excitement and demand off a drop that happens once a week on Thursdays. Yeah. And I was just in New York recently, and I see the Supreme store, and my son asked me to buy him something. So I looked, and I'm like, wow, it opens at 11. That's a funny time to open up. But I'm like, okay, maybe it's to do with the clothing and the culture. 11 comes, I walk in, and there's security guards, and they're like, you can't come in. I'm like, what do you mean I can't come in? They said, well, did you enter the raffle to be able to stand in the 2-block line? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, wow, what does this even mean? And I forget the gentleman's name, but he started a show called The Patriot Act on Netflix. He's a comedian, but he's very smart. And he put together this whole thing on Supreme about how they're creating this dynamic culture of excitement and making it feel like you need to get something rather than it just being available. Yeah. And that's what we see with the microgrowers, arguably, they have some of the best cannabis, not only in Canada, but the world. And right now, they've been sitting on the sideline. And the way that the license work, they're only allowed growing up to 650 kilograms a year, and a lot of people are saying it's even going to be tough to get off the 650 kilograms a year. So on our technology platform, we'll be able to create a whole section that's just micro cultivators. And through the year, we'll let our customers and shoppers know exactly how much cannabis they have left in their supply for the year. So instead of there being an oversupply of product, here there'll actually be an undersupply.
It's capped, yeah.
And then people who really love these products will go in and do whatever they can to get that product. That's the excitement that we want to cause in the industry. You know, we want people to love what they're buying, not just to buy something to buy it. We want people to understand what they're buying and to bring them the top quality products.
Yeah, it's much like champagne, and I can't remember if it's the Chinese or Japanese, they love their champagne grape. They love champagne wine, and part of the reasons why champagne, like true champagne, not just sparkling wine, one of the reasons why it's so expensive is one, supply is not that much, and there's a high demand for it. So by the time it gets to North America, or the time it gets just to the user, you're paying an arm and a leg for it because, one, it's quality. You want that, but it's because of the supply. It's because there's only so much of that certain kind of drink. In this case, it sounds like a certain kind of cannabis.
Yeah, once it's out, it's out. They're not going to be able to grow any more in that year. It'll be impossible.
Yeah.
So just imagine that now there's actually a demand, there's excitement around a certain strain and product, and that's what we want to cause. That's what we want to see happen.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I always appreciate your time on the show. Thank you for all of our viewers as well. We'll try to do that more often as well when we've got questions for either yourself, Corey, anyone on the Namaste team, to turn to the investors and try to get their questions answered, which we were able to knock off today. So I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Absolutely. And I love the counter they're doing, the 7, 6, 5. It's beautiful. Love it.
Focus.
So, thank you, Sean, for coming on.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of things.
They are, and I don't know, there are so many haters on Namaste out there, and if you don't own their stock, you don't own their stock, it's fine. But what they've put into place, if they can pull it off, don't get me wrong, there's a lot going on there, but if they can pull it off, they're going to make money.
Oh, God, yeah. Like, who wouldn't want to go with them for getting, like, in the GTA, getting same-day delivery, 4 hours, like, within 4 hours? Like, if they can actually guarantee that,
yeah,
why not?
Only thing I know that doing right now is skip the dispensary, and that is not legal.
So they're going the legal way.
So they're doing the legal way of doing that, yeah.
Oh, cool, cool.
So you opened up the Ascent news release.
The Ascent.
Ascent.
Read it out there, bud.
Tomato.
You want me to read this out?
What did it say?
Apparently, they focused on the period during which the company was privately held. Health Canada asserts that unauthorized activities with cannabis took place under the company's ACMPR license during that period. And right after that, three directors and the officers resigned. So
I need more details.
I don't think that good.
That is not. If we can get my my NDI up.
You know, Health Canada is just going to make an example out of these people.
You know what? And maybe they should.
They will make an example. I mean, I am very. If we
but you know what? Hopefully they come out with something that they.
I don't know if my NDI is connected. It might not be. But you guys keep going for that for a second as I connect my NDI to get this up on the screen. It's going to look like a waterfall. Their chart.
What? Yo, like it's pretty bad. It's not even. Yeah, it's definitely. It's Niagara Falls.
So are we going to speculate what they were doing?
No.
They were. Why?
Something.
Nothing. I think there was.
But I'm just curious. What would cause? I think my NDI might be up. So if it is, just
they
were
were
up
part
whenever
of
you have a
Skip the
second.
Dispensary.
Well, I'm very curious. Did they sell cannabis somewhere else? Were they using? It's.
Yeah.
We've only ever heard of one other person getting it taken away from them, and that was Organigram. That wasn't their license, though. It was just the organic.
Yeah.
And that was for things they're in the past now. But I've only ever heard of one other that's had it taken away. Like, who's actually had their license suspended?
Who was the other
one?
one?
I just mean, sorry, Organigram, but that was their organic license, not their
I don't think
actual
anybody else
ACMPR.
really has. But like Karl said, it's probably just an example that they're making.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Health Canada.
Okay.
Hey, there's your NDI.
So there's my face. Love it. Looks
That's
great.
Brandon.
That's all we're seeing. Oh, there we go. So this is their chart. They haven't been trading for such a long time, but look down here.
I was like, "Where's the candle?" I'm like,
it's down here. It didn't just break through the Bollinger Bands.
Get rid of the candles and go to whatever the other one's called.
Oh, I love the candles. Don't tell me about candles or no candles.
You're a candle guy, aren't you?
I'm a candle guy. I am. I love candlesticks. But look at this. It's starting up here. It's trading around the 50-cent range, and then a precipitous drop off a cliff.
And then you got cut.
And she's gone.
And you're gone.
And
and you're out.
And 8 million. Look at the volume. I think it's the highest volume they've ever had. It is highest volume they've ever had.
Yep.
It's reaching oversold territory, but something just fell off. I don't know what that was, but we like to have fun. Just the camera fell off.
What's going on over there?
But
that's good.
you know, that's a shame though. And this goes, you would never have known this beforehand. We're speculating, we don't know the situation yet, but it just points out why it's important to really look into how are they growing, who are their growers, where are they selling to.
Bet you they don't have
Keep
David
clapping
Hyde
your
on
hands
there.
as you do this.
Bet you they don't have David Hyde on their side.
They might not have David. I don't know if they do actually.
DTAC.
I don't know.
Let's move on, people.
All right, where are we moving on to?
I don't know.
We've lost our slidey camera for the time being. So it's going to be straight on you. I'm going to stop talking and the camera's just going to go, boom. It worked.
It's on both of us.
Hi.
What's catching your attention though?
I'm just watching GGB.
Yep.
I own it. I'm a big fan. Garibaldi's down to $1.
Garibaldi is definitely hurting.
Fallen victim to maybe some tax selling.
Yeah.
But then there's some people that'll pick up a discount, like me.
I'm gonna definitely
Yeah.
talk about
Well,
this.
that's really weird.
Yeah, it's showing on my Facebook now. Awesome. So what we'll do instead is show the market. It's staying up there. Tony pointed out Wayland is at 14.5%. They've been ripping it today.
Rip it in the turn.
MMJ still at 30%. AS&T, the one we just talked about, Ascent, is down 56.86%.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's hard. You know, we've seen this in the mining, though. We've seen drills not come out the way we wanted to, and then all of a sudden, 50% off the. You don't even have a chance to react.
Yeah.
It's difficult. You know, for people who are investing in this space. I mean,
Anything's
be
possible.
mindful with your money. Understand that yes, there's lots of return, but there's a lot of risk. This is a lot different than like grabbing TD or grabbing BMO.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have higher returns, but you're also going to have higher risk, which means you can have higher losses. So if you have all of your money and then all of a sudden you're like, I can't pay my rent anymore, well, now you can't wait it out. Now you got to sell for this. So just be mindful that there is a lot of volatility here, but it's also very exciting at the same time.
There's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
Are we broadcasting to like a high school or something?
Are we broadcasting to a high school?
Everybody knows that by now.
No. I think it's important to repeat it because not enough people know that.
Oh,
we know that
100%.
because we're so entrenched in it. And we speak to people in this space so often. There's a lot of people tuning in to either our Facebook group or to the Midas Letter YouTube channel. They're learning to invest, and they see us. And man, I could take a 100% loss, and you know what? I understood what I was doing before, and I understood the risk. So a lot of other people, unfortunately, I don't think have that mentality yet.
So there.
All right.
Yeah, he
On
just
that
told
note.
you, bro.
All right. Well, you were in Las Vegas.
I was.
Last week. How was it? Did you have fun? Did you go to a party? Did you meet a girl? What'd you do?
Yeah, I met a lot of people actually. So shout out to Jason Spatafor. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Hung out with him in Vegas for a bit. He really does know his stuff. I was impressed with him. He really understood what was going on in the market. Always nice to see that stuff going on. But when you're at the MJ Biz conference, it was massive. Las Vegas Convention Center is absolutely massive. I think they said there was over 30,000 people there. What was the most interesting part, though, is that as far as Canada is advanced in the legalization aspect and moving forward federally, I think the United States is way ahead of us in products and marketing.
Well, they're really good at branding.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So I kept feeling bad. People would come over and try to get my attention. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in Canada. I can't have any of that packaging. If it looks like shit, it comes in a plastic container and it's got a stop sign on it, I could sell it. Other than that, we can't do anything about it. So
They've got to change that.
If we don't change this, when it goes federal in the United States, every single Canadian cannabis company, except for the really, really well-positioned ones or a niche market, will be trampled over. because they have the marketing, they have the
Talk
products.
to your local MP.
Talk to your local MP. This was
Send an email.
a message from
Do a video. Come on
FTMIG.
here. Yeah, I know, it sucks, man.
But it was
you
really
got all
cool,
this
though.
packaging, like, is there a drawer there?
There used to be
Check
a
it for
package
cannabis.
here. There was a package here earlier.
Yeah.
And now
it's
she-
pretty
she gone.
ridiculous, though. But yeah, I mean,
But the products
is
were
what it
amazing.
is.
It was really cool. They had one company I really liked. I'd love to bring them on the show. Lacey. This is a technology company where they're able to take cannabis and decarb the entire plant into a pill form and virtually keep the chemical compound almost identical. Which, for anyone who doesn't really know, we're going back to high school again here. Your words, let's do it. When you go into THC or you're trying to make a distillate of some sort, when you add heat to it, it can actually change. It does change the chemical compound. So what used to be 10% THC could now be 12%, 8%. Like it's always changing. So
Did you
no
try
one's
one?
done this yet.
did you try one?
I did. I was lit.
For how long?
Oh my goodness, hours. I woke up and still like I was just like, what is going on here?
It's not good, man.
So
it's good, but it's not good.
It's because my tolerance is so low. I really don't consume much cannabis. I love my whiskey, but in general, that was one of the things that was really interesting.
I've been hooting the green stick there lately.
Oh, you've been smoking the Magic Dragon there, have you,
I was
bud?
telling my better half yesterday, like she asked me
Don't
to
point
go.
at me when you say
She asked me to go grab some stuff at the store or whatever, and I had anxiety for a solid 2 or 3 days. Just that feeling in your stomach. I'm like, why? What's that feeling for? And she was like, you know what? I think it's that THC leaving your system. Like if you overload. Have you guys experienced that? Have you ever had anxiety from too much cannabis?
That's why I stopped smoking cannabis when I was 19 or 20 or so.
Yeah,
I've never had that,
I smoked all the time, and just started getting anxiety from it. Yeah.
Well, we're just really good advocates, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I never had anxiety. I never had that feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
But edibles, usually I find with edibles, they're much more tame, they're much more relaxing, and you don't get that crazy head buzz and anxiety.
Yeah.
But everyone's different. Everyone's different. Strains are different. You got to just go out there. Don't be a fool. And it's the same thing with
Don't
alcohol.
be a fool. Don't
drink.
bring weed brownies to a family event and let your grandmother eat them.
Is this a story? Like we have to go to another thing.
I
But
feel
is this
like
a story?
a lot of people have that story.
Yeah.
Talk to Johnny Mac.
I know that story's happened in my family.
Very interesting. We'll get back with that story really quickly, but we're going to turn over to Jesse McConnell, CEO of Rubicon Organics. He was in here earlier, and we had a lot to say, so why don't we go to that now? And we're here today via Skype with Jesse McConnell, CEO of Rubicon Organics. How are you doing today, my good man?
I am great. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and thanks for taking the time on the West Coast. It's quite early in the morning, so thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's a beautiful day here, so great to be out here and to be talking to you and your audience.
Absolutely. So for somebody who has never heard of Rubicon Organics before, can you give us the elevator pitch of who you are and what you're planning on doing in the Canadian cannabis market?
Well, we are an international cannabis company focused on the development of super premium organic cannabis brands. So we're 100% organic in everything that we do, whether that's at our facilities in the US or our facilities in Canada.
And you actually, I was just going through some notes about your company. You actually have a rather large facility out in BC, I believe. Can you let us know about what kind of capacity you're looking into, whether it's current or what you're about to build out to?
Yeah, we've got 2 facilities. We're up and down the West Coast, but our major facility is in Delta, British Columbia. It's a 125,000 square foot asset there that we've been retrofitting for the last year and a half. And it's less of a greenhouse and more of an indoor production facility with a glass roof is probably the best way to think about it. So you can truly grow high quality premium product out of that facility. It's going to be 100% certified organic production coming out of there. And then about 45 minutes south, we own another wholly owned asset, which is a brand new 40,000 square foot Thomas Larson designed greenhouse. It's in fact one of the first greenhouses that Thomas Larson built for cannabis. And between those 2 facilities, we'll have total production of around 15,500 kilograms a year.
Yeah, Thomas Larson, is that the same Larson with that has gone over to Aurora, like that Larson name?
That's exactly the same fellow.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and they've actually been doing, they did Aurora Sky, some other really big projects. I think the Tea God as well. So that's interesting. Yeah, it's a good builder. And you said you're 100% organic, because I know a lot of people who are out there, they'll do 5% or 10% of their crop. That one facility out in Delta, BC, that's 100% organic.
You know, our focus is on being the best certified organic cannabis cultivator in the world. So if you look at I was co-founder of Whistler, which was the first certified organic cannabis facility, federally legal certified organic cannabis facility in the world. And the co-founder of Rubicon was contracted to write the certified organic standard for cannabis in Canada. So for us, it's not about partial hydroponic production and partial organic production. What we've been able to achieve over the last 5 or 6 years in our pilot scale facilities has been an extremely high yielding organic system that is as good or better when it comes to yields versus conventional production, and getting those really full terpene profiles and that truly high quality organic product. So for us, it's 100% organic all the way.
Very nice. Well, that actually somewhat leads into a question that we always turn to our investors to ask, what do they want to know about a company, especially the ones who've been following you for a really long time. And one of our investors asked, will the full 1964 genetics library be available in Canada? If not, where would you be sourcing your genetics?
Well, actually, we strategically look to be licensed under the Cannabis Act as opposed to under the ACMPR, where you have extremely restrictive regulations around how to bring genetics and then develop those genetics. Our genetic library right now is composed of around 700 different cultivars, and of those, there's a number of which have actually been stabilized. One of the major issues under Canadian cannabis cultivation, in fact, maybe even worldwide, is a lack of stabilization of various cultivars. So you end up with F1s, and which are non-stable hybrids. What we have is some very stable phenotypes that have already been developed for this specific climate, and we'll be bringing those into the Canadian market in Q1, Q2 of next year.
Gotcha. So relatively soon. Well, another question, it actually goes stick on the same line of growing. I believe you use LEDs in your facilities. How do you combat what a lot of people are worried about, like light bleaching and those different elements? Because LEDs, they're all over. We've been to a few conferences recently, and LED lights are like every other expo or every other station. It's really, really coming into play, but it's still new to a lot of people. How are you adjusting to that, and how are you using them?
Well, in fact, when we built our first facility in Washington, we did not choose to go with LEDs. And the reason we chose not to go with them is they were not proven at the time. And it's the best technology we could find even 16 months ago still wasn't up to the standard we were looking for. So we worked with a double-ended HPS for our Washington facility. In Canada, we've managed to find I don't want to say which manufacturer, but they are the most efficient LED that you can find, and the Delta facility is entirely an LED-based facility. And things like light bleaching have more to do with managing your climate properly, understanding the spacing between your canopy height and your actual light sources. So as long as you've designed your workflows properly and design the cultivation space properly, you shouldn't encounter those issues.
Well, and it's good to hear, because that's one element that I think investors really need to start looking into when it comes to all these cannabis stocks. There's a lot of cannabis stocks in the market right now for people. A much, much different atmosphere than it was just a year ago, especially what it was 2 or 3 years ago. But one of the elements you really need to look into if you're going to have an investment in a company is how are they growing, where are they growing? These certain questions I don't think people really asked me before. They always asked about capacity, how many kilograms. They never asked, okay, where are they going to sell it? Or who's the grower? These are important questions. And our investors, when asking what they want to do, they're really, really interested in your growing methods, which is nice to see, because another question here is, will you be selling your proprietary living soil or compost as like a third party? And living soil in itself, if people don't understand what that is, I actually have a good friend of mine who's a part of our community who has a Tilo Organic soil company. And I'm starting to hear from a lot of different growers the benefits of using a living soil opposed to your normal soil, and you feed it with so many different additives and all of that. You really get a nice trichome, the trichomes that come out of it, the flavors, the tastes. So I didn't know that you were doing living soil to begin with, but on that question, are you planning on selling that living soil, or is that just for what you're doing?
Well, we've certainly been approached by a number of LPs to do that, to consult with them for organic programs, but it's not something we're contemplating doing. We believe that 2019 really is going to be the year of execution for licensed producers, and there's going to be a massive shakeout this year. And it's been difficult, I think, for investors to tell who is an operator and who's a promoter. And this is the year when people have to deliver on the promises that they've been making. So do you have the experience of growing cannabis for the last 15, 20 years? Have you built the right kind of team around you to not just deliver on the CPG branding side, but to truly grow an extremely high quality product at a cost base that's going to be competitive long term? This is the year you're going to find out that a lot of operators, I don't believe, have those teams in place. We're focused on being operators. We're focused on building high quality, growing high quality product. And the organic program that we've been developing over the last 7 or 8 years is not something that we want to be putting out to our competitors right now. That's something we want to keep very tightly guarded and close in-house. Now, that's going to be one of the big competitive advantages we have moving forward.
Yeah, and I think you made a really good point there. I think there's going to be a big shakeout. And I think a lot of the companies, when you really start looking into them, there was a lot of sizzle, not so much steak, to use an old cliche. But yeah, no, it's really interesting hearing these different elements, but why don't we switch away from the growing side of things and go into the investment side of things? You're currently a publicly traded company. What's your ticker and where can people find you?
We're on the Canadian Stock Exchange under ROMJ. We chose the list there because of our U.S. asset exposure. We're very excited about the Canadian opportunity. We think that's going to be tremendous, especially the global export opportunity that comes along with that. But we do believe that brand development in markets like California, where you're able to market in a much different way than you are in a place like Canada, is critical to our long-term organic branding strategy.
Yeah, and when it comes to the share structure, so we're going right after the investors here with these questions. How many shares do you have on standing, and does management have a large hold of those shares?
We have about 37 million shares outstanding right now. Fully diluted, it's 44. If all those warrants, but the average price for the warrant exercise was $3.15. Management has quite a large position with nearly 60% between management and large insiders.
Very nice. So $3.15. What are you currently trading at the moment?
We're fairly thinly traded right now, and the market's quite volatile, so it depends on the day you ask me that.
No kidding.
I don't check the stocks every day. We really are focused on being operators in the space.
Yeah.
We move up and down with the market volatility. For us, it's really stay focused, deliver on the actual business plan, and deliver cash flows to investors. That's the way these companies are going to be judged long term. The hype is going to go away, and the question is going to be who's delivering cash flows, who's growing. This is a consumer product. And when consumers, are faced with a truly high-quality product married to a brand truth, you're going to end up developing long-term customers. Fancy business plans and decks that don't tie to reality, those are going to be pushed by the wayside in the very near future.
Yeah, I agree with that point actually, and it's funny you said depends on what day, depends on what hour. It's amazing the volatility that we're seeing. We just saw 2 incredibly red days in a row, and then I looked this morning and everything's up 15%, 10%. It's volatility like this. I think people are going, especially newer investors, don't realize this isn't quite normal compared to just your normal stock exchange. So in a couple of years, when cannabis companies, all that crazy hype is gone, and now we've turned into show the numbers, because the hype is there for a reason. Some of these companies are going to make a lot of money, but I think that speculation and the hype around the speculation is really drastically cutting off. And now, just like we've alluded to a couple of times now, people are looking for, okay, is this company actually a sustainable company that I want to invest in, and what's their plan? So it's been really interesting getting a moment to talk to you about that, as Rubicon is one that I'm looking to a little bit recently, but this is a nice part of exposure for me as well. I'm learning about your company.
Well, the consumer demand is unquestionable. You're looking at any developing or mature market, even markets like Colorado that continue to grow year after year after being around for over a decade. You start extrapolating those numbers into the Canadian marketplace. This is a consumer good. There's going to be a tremendous demand for it. Question is, who's truly going to be able to supply that demand in the marketplace right now? And so from an investor's perspective for us, we need to execute and deliver, on our promises. And I think we're trading undervalued, which of course every CEO of any company is going to say. But what we are waiting for right now is our licensing event, which we expect to be imminent. We've been under review for the last 3 months with our video evidence and had indications from Health Canada that they're expecting to license us any day now. So on that basis, I think you've got truly an opportunity to get in at as low a discount as you're going to get in this company in the foreseeable future.
Well, I appreciate it very much, the information, the time that you've taken with us. If you want to plug your company and ticker one more time, possibly website, where can people find you?
You can find us at rubiconorganics.com. Our ticker symbol is ROMJ, and we are focused on super premium organic cannabis brands.
Perfect. Well, appreciate your time this afternoon/morning. We'll speak again soon and see what the progress that you're making. And good luck with the Health Canada licensing coming up.
Thanks very much, and thanks for having me on.
How rude. Johnny Mac's in the building.
Love this mug.
And we've got CCW up there.
So before we go to CCW, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. Jesse, that was fantastic. It's always nice they're doing a lot of organic cannabis there, actually. A lot of people are doing 5% or 10%. They're all organic. So look into them if you think that was useful and want to find a little bit more. But we have Johnny Mac here. Now we're going to jump over.
Johnny!
How are you guys doing today?
Rather frisky.
Rather frisky.
So, do you want to explain the voting system?
Yeah, before we jump into this, so what we ended up doing this time is we went to our private Facebook group, Follow the Money Investor Group. You can find it on Facebook, and we started a poll where you can add your company. So you put the company in the ticker, and you can vote for it. You can vote for as many as you want, doesn't matter. And I think we had over like 300 different votes, over 30 different companies, and we said the top 2 or 3, depending on how much time we have, we're going to have Johnny Mac break down the TAs of those companies, and we're going to look to do this whenever we can. So watch out, it's in our private group. You can vote on your own if you want to see your company broken down.
Good job, bro.
Boom.
A little long, but whatever. All right, Johnny. So we got Waylon up there on the big... Yep.
Yeah, so me on the opposite end of the spectrum of you guys, I didn't sleep well last night, so I'm not feeling perky at all. And comic moment for me, when I went to call into the show, I actually couldn't even think of the computer program, the name of the computer program Skype to actually call in. So that's my mental state right now. So bear with me if I ramble a little bit.
Let me ask you a question though. Can you hear feedback in your ear?
Yeah, I can hear a lot of feedback.
Oh, shit.
Might be from the speaker that we're trying.
No, he can't hear that.
No.
All right, Johnny.
Well,
anyway,
we appreciate it.
So, yeah.
Very much.
Wayland Group, let's start off there. Can you guys see the chart okay?
Yep.
Or are you seeing it right now?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, this chart has a lot of work to do. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, it's got a lot of work to do before you can be bullish on the stock. The chart is trading below basically all of its key moving averages. This move today, we're above the 8 EMA, which I kind of use as a trading average, but for the most part, I mean, we set a new 52-week low yesterday. It's given back all of its gains since August. So yeah, if you're a bull, if you're long on Wayland Group, you've got a lot of change to see before we can call it bullish. But one of the things I think that should concern you if you're long is we've lost the support zone around 138. So I identified it here in green. So we got a nice bounce off that area back in August. We tested it again October 23rd. We got a rebound. We broke below it really quickly here, but again, it rebounded above. So I would call it, even though it broke below quickly, it basically held. But now that we've broken below that definitively, see how we rejected in the same area? So our support has become resistant. So this 139 area, I think, is key for Wayland, 139, 138. actually drew the area between 138 and 140. So that, I think, is one of the big areas that we want to try and get above if you're long on the stock. So, one nice thing that you could say yesterday is we got a doji. It was a gap down doji in star position, so the price gap down. So a doji in a downtrend like this, it signals indecision. So if you get this sort of candle and then you get follow through, which we are getting today, which is nice to see, we actually had a gap up. So almost like a Morningstar doji type pattern here. So indecision in a downtrend marking a possible bottom, then you're getting follow through. So that's good. So that's at least a start. And what we want to see here is we want to see basically the trend turn around. I suspect in order to set a new higher high than the last one, which was here, we're probably not going to see it in a single move because we know this is going to be resistance now. So we're probably looking at it peaking, whether it's in that resistance zone or not, coming down, making a higher low and pivoting off that to try and turn the trend around. One thing to note, when Whaling Group moves below its 20-day moving average, which it did back in September, it tends to reject off that. So it's done that a couple times back here as well. You can see a couple rejections. So we know that even if we get above this resistance area, we can look to that 20-day moving average as a potential resistance zone. And then definitely here, we've had a few highs in this roughly low 160s area as well. That to me would be problematic. Obviously, to the downside, if we lose this low, I'll switch back to a more elongated chart. You guys see that one okay?
Yep.
Okay, so we're looking all the way back to early September 2017. We had a lot of action down here. I'm calling it roughly between 115 and 105, so we call that a support area. So you can see that yesterday's doji, we actually dipped into that support area and we got a rebound. So when you're looking to find a potential bottom on the stock, these support areas definitely are a good place to look, and that is exactly where we got it. So we got a nice rebound again, a nice gap up, but we need to see a lot of change in this chart before we're bullish. At this point, all we have right now is just a lower high than before, so we need to turn this around. If we were to lose this support zone for whatever reason, that would be really ugly. I believe that would be printing all-time lows. Correct me if I'm wrong. Longer term perspective on this chart, I kind of like to look a little bit longer term. After this huge sell-off, we had this elongated period of accumulation between April and basically mid-August. And yeah, you could argue that this is a wide trading range, but if we look just big picture, this is, it's basically being held here. Every time it runs up, it's being sold. It runs down, it's getting bought. Anyone familiar with Wyckoff accumulation or type patterns, you might be saying this kind of looks like Wyckofian. So this could be a sign that somebody was trying to accumulate some shares. We got a little spring here, which is basically a fake out before we had our move. But when you look at this move we had in mid-September, it's basically a fake breakout. So we finally broke above this trading range, and we had this big blow off top. We had a huge volume uptick there. It might be a little bit easier to see on this chart. So we had this big volume bar, big uptick. The stock was overbought, and we've given that whole gain back and then some. So to me, this looks like a false breakout. So we rejected the breakout of the consolidation range, and now we're actually trading below it. Doesn't surprise me when a breakout fails like that. So lots of work to do, but at least, we are finding a reversal candle here in an area that we would look for it, which is good. So let's see what the price can do in the short term to try and change the trend and turn things around. And again, this would be my focus here, 139, setting, getting above that high, pivoting this back to support like it was acting for, the last 6 months, basically. Second pick, I think, was Garibaldi. So Garibaldi not having a good day today. It's been in a downtrend for quite a while. News was not received well, as we're all aware, back in September. So I basically identified two support areas here on Garibaldi. One of them is between $1 and $1.06. And you can see that we've tested this twice now. So we had a dip back in November 5th. We rebounded and we're right back in there again. We actually dipped slightly below that today. The stock is traded as low as 99 cents on some of the alternate trading systems, the ATS platforms. And again, where the support comes from is we're just looking back and seeing, okay, where have we seen support before? So we had, this area gave us a nice support in the past, and we got some good moves off of there. It was tested, it rebounded. So again, this is why we would expect the same area to provide support. So the thing to watch is if we lose this level, then where is it going to go next? Because to be honest, I'm long Garibaldi, but again, look at the weakness of this rebound. We did not see a very strong rebound. The volume here was really low. So we didn't get a big rebound off the support area. We got a recovery, but it was really, I would call it weak. It was done on weak volume. All the big volume days have been on selling days for the most part. And I use the big volume in a relative sense. But so we're back here again. If this doesn't hold to me, if I'm looking for another area for strong support, I'm looking roughly 65 to low 70s. So I've identified that here in green. So it was a previous resistance level. We pivoted it to support, tested it a few times. We got a nice push up to $1 right from this area. So if we fall back into this green zone, I would expect lots of buyers, probably not a lot of sellers.
That's
I know that there was.
That's where I first.
Yeah, a lot. You know what? A lot of people got in their positions to start in here. The stock was getting a lot of attention and coverage at this point. So, I mean, that would be quite a change in tune to get all the way back down here. But I do think it's possible if we lose this support level. And I know that there are some bids, higher up and in between. But again, when I say I'm looking for a strong support area, this is the area that I would, look for it. And if we go to a, let's go 2 year. I think it's been identified. It might have been Gold Investment Letter. They said they might see this 200-day. This is the weekly chart now, that they might see this 200 weekly average acting as support. Maybe, maybe not. I do see some bids down there on the market depth, but look at this. This was such a huge uptrend. There was very little pause in this whole move, and that's the problem when you get these moves where they don't consolidate on the way up. If the stock breaks down, you can get an equally aggressive move to the downside. So personally, if I look at the daily chart, there was basically no consolidation from when we launched from 70 cents all the way up to $1. It was basically just a straight shot. So personally, I'm not expecting strong support, anywhere in between these two zones. Now, the stock can decide to do what it wants, but that's where I'm calling strong support would be in that green zone. And let's just zoom in here a little bit on the 6 months so we can see the candles a little bit better. And this is what I'm talking about. So we saw this rally on the news. It got sold off hard. We had another rally attempt here, bearish engulfing candle. We engulfed this whole move on higher volume. Again, it's relatively speaking, 900,000 shares is not a lot, but I'm looking at it on a relative basis, relative to the other candles. And there was follow through on that. Again, higher volume day that brought us back down to this support area. And on this rebound, we see lots of upper wicks, and it's just curling over. And look at the volume here, really low. We didn't get any big buying days. I've mentioned it before. I think the buyers on Garibaldi are nervous. I think retail is stretched. I know lots of people that are still buying, adding to their positions, averaging down. But I think really what the stock needs is some strong institutional investors coming in, buying, soaking up supply, and locking it up. So that supply is taken off the market. You see that as we are...
It would be safe, potentially, on the TAs to set your bid right where Brent Cook said it's going to go. But
that's a possibility. But look at as the price has turned over here again, volume picking up. 300,000 is not a big volume day, but you compare it to the day when it was, when we sort of recovered or rebounded, and the volume is up. I think we're trading over, we're about 500,000 shares right now so far on the day. few hours left to go. So, you know, big upper wick here. The rally was stuffed, and if you look at the market depth, there's been a lot of what I see as institutional selling activity, and it's been happening all week. It's been from ITG, which is broker code 014. I can see that there's an institutional seller looking to unwind a position, and it could be for any number of reasons. They could be looking to trim equity exposure. They could be not liking what they're seeing in the nickel price. Who knows? But what we do know is that they're dumping stock and it's applying selling pressure. The other thing I will mention on Garibaldi is the last few weeks I've seen some layering on the bid. So that's basically bids that aren't real or that I perceive to not be real. And, you know, in my mind, the reason for that happening is somebody is trying to sell and they're trying to basically create the image or the impression that there's more buying support than there actually is. So that tells me that there's a seller out there that wants to liquidate. And, you know, whether those bids were related to the ITG selling this week, I can't say, but it is a little bit suspicious. So that's my take on Garibaldi. I'm still long the stock. I haven't personally sold any shares, but right now, again, the stock has a lot of work to do. Just like Whalen, we're trading up below all our key moving averages. You know, we need to find that point where the buyers are jumping over each other trying to get in, you know, where people are excited to buy the stock, you know, and that could come from news. You know, the company could surprise us with some news. However it's going to happen, it hasn't happened yet. So that, to me, that's when we're going to, you know, that's when things turn around.
And John,
sorry, did one of you guys have a question?
Yeah, really quickly, when you're talking about layering the bids, I know a lot of people who've been around for a while, they understand what you're talking about. For anyone who's watching this and they're following along, like, wait, what does he mean by layering the bids?
So layering the bids would be putting bids up that you don't intend to fill. So it's a bid that's there as basically window dressing to make it look like there's a lot of bid support, when in reality you have no intention of those orders filling. I'm actually a little concerned about these BMO orders. There's 2 for 50,000 here. The reason being, I've been trading the venture for a long time. You get a little bit jaded and suspicious when you see this, and then you see today, for example, BMO being a net seller on a dump day like this. Could be coincidence, could be not, but that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm not accusing this person definitively of layering the bid, but what I saw in the last couple weeks was anonymous bids being put, and anytime if the share price would sell down, the bids would adjust lower automatically. So you could tell that the buyer or the person putting the order in did not want them to fill. So they were always keeping the bid a few cents below where it was trading. And it's just strictly done there to make it look, you know, when someone looks at the market depth and says, oh, look at all that strength. And when in reality, some of that strength might not be legitimate. And that's what I mean by layering. I hope that explains it well for people listening in that might not have known.
No, I did. I appreciate it.
I made a mistake once putting up a sell order in stock that I owned. And I actually was buying later on. I got a call from my broker. Right? And it was a friggin' mistake. So hopefully these people are dealt with accordingly. However, we're moving over to CCW, and I see it just took a poo.
How much time do I have? Because we still have a few more charts to cover. I think RNX was number 3, eh?
We've got about 10 minutes, so as many as we can do from that top part of our poll. We'll just get through them, and we'll vote again next week.
Okay, so I had the top 5, but let's see if I can squeeze them in here. RNX, support zone here. Previous resistance becomes support. We've tested it twice now. It's held, which is good. So this would have been where I was looking to see a rebound, and we've got it twice. We got a really nice rebound here last week on good volume, left a nice lower wick here. But the problem is, and this is the problem on RNX, is we had this support, we gapped up here, so an open gap will always provide you support. You can see that the price retraced its highs, came right down to the bottom of that open gap, we rebounded. But look at this now, we've broken through, and now what has become, or what was support is now resistance. So this 57 area is going to be resistance on RNX. So to me, that's your near-term target. If you're a bull on RNX, you want to see that you want to see that support recaptured, get the price back above it, pivot it to support again. But right now, I would say the bears have control given that we've lost that support zone, and I think that was a key one. So in the meantime, we're sort of bouncing in between support and resistance. We did set a slightly higher low than last time, almost the same price. This is 43.5 compared to 43, but in order to turn the trend up, we're going to have to get back above this point, and maybe it has to consolidate in here a little bit. Maybe we'll get an equilibrium, a tightening range, and then finally a move. If we lose this support zone, then this is the next area that I would look for. Basically, another open gap we have between 30 cents and 35.5. Again, previous resistance, now support. So this is the area that I would look for if for whatever reason we lose this. We have the 200-day moving average sitting there as well. So all in the same area. I would be surprised if we had a move down that we didn't get a rebound out of this area. But if you're a bull, let's see things turn around here. Hopefully the bulls can fight back and get back above this broken support zone, pivot it back to support. So let's look at CCW.
You're getting a lot of love on the Midas Letter YouTube channel, by the way, saying they love this guy. Get this guy on more often. So you're killing it.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, so CCW, so let's look at things longer term. So we had a nice run here. Trading range. Notice how the bottom of this trading range, the price was, generally speaking, I'm not defining these as strict ranges, but just to give you an idea of where the trading is happening. Notice the price was rebounding out of here. When we lost that, look where we are now. Now when the stock rebounds, we're bouncing back off. So again, previous support, now we're into resistance. So this is the trading range we're in now, and I've just roughly defined it with these two lines. I think there were a lot of people calling breakout last week when we closed at 68. Personally, for me, when I look for a stock to break out, when it's in a trading range like this, I want to see a really clear move above this zone, which we didn't get, and it has to happen on good volume. So right now, to me, we're still trading sideways. The nice thing about it is, yes, we've, as opposed to earlier, if you look at some of the other times, the stock has been closing recently. It made some nice closes right at near the high of the trading range. So instead of coming up here and rejecting down, we actually closed near the high. And to me, that's a very bullish sign. We have been making higher lows, which is good. You could argue that this is, an ascending triangle type pattern. So we're bouncing off roughly the same high, but the lows are coming up here, so that's good to see. So this to me looks bullish. As a bull, I don't mind a horizontal consolidation range here. You get a nice churn, the stock turns over, weekend selling out, strong hands moving in, people that think CCW is going to move to dollar land, plus they're buying here in the 60s, loading up, expecting a move up. So if we get a move up, again, we want a clear move above this trading range with volume. We haven't had that yet. This is the area here in red that I would expect to see some resistance, mid 80s to 90s. We've had 3 peaks back earlier in July and August, and that's where we stopped. So that's where I would be looking. So basically the top end of where we were trading before. And I think if we can get there, I would expect some consolidation probably, and then hopefully if the company can keep putting out good news, and if market conditions don't deteriorate too much, then we can hopefully get a push through that. CCW, indicators, buying pressure is strong. We're staying above 0 on your money flow. Positive momentum, RSI is positive. This is a nice chart to me. I like it. To me, it looks bullish. 2 cautions that I want to throw out quickly. Again, there's been leaks, obviously, from the company because there's a lot of talk on the boards about news, and everyone was expecting news around here. We've since sold off. So all the people selling the stock right now, we're going to be selling when the news came out. So I don't actually see this as a bad thing. Everybody's selling now, whether they were into flip or whether, they're just reducing their exposure because they don't like the feel of the overall equity markets. They're selling out now. So this is getting rid of sellers that would have been there when the news came out anyway. So not a bad thing. Hopefully some stronger hands scooping these shares up, and that sets us up for a better chance to actually have, when the company puts out news, have it actually excite the market, and push the stock out of this trading range up into a bullish area. Karl, you wanted to say something?
I was going to talk about potential traders getting out of the stock.
I like that comment too. What
Yeah.
you can see is we've seen all too often, especially in mining, news comes out and it just tanks the next day. Let's see.
Well, it's the buy the rumor, sell the news, right?
Yeah, to a T. So let's see
However,
if we can skip that.
Here's what I will.
And don't forget, guys, one quick thing to mention as well, and I've said it before, the last private placement will be coming into play. It was done at 65 cents. That will be, theoretically free trading any day. We've probably seen some selling pressure from it already. So keep that in mind. I think it was about 2.2 million shares at 65. And This is the weekly chart just for a longer term view. This is a nice uptrend. Higher highs, higher lows. Notice how we're up against this weekly 20-day moving average. Again, we break this trading range. We break above, back up into the upper part of the 20-day moving average, which is what you want to see. Notice how the stock is staying in bullish ranges on RSI. Anytime we dip, we're staying above basically 40 or higher. That's what you want to see in an uptrend. Money flow has stayed strong here, which is good. This is what you want to see again. That tells you that you're getting a lot more closes near the high than you are near the low. That's basically what's going to give you those
I like that
signals. We have given back a bit on momentum in the PPO, but this is a big run. So in a consolidation, I don't mind this. We're still positive. So as long as we get back above that signal line, I think we're good.
Yeah, really good info there, talking about the private placement that's going to be coming free trading. That's the type of info that's value added, on top of the TA stuff, because, we're going to have people. Do you know what the warrants were on that raise? Did they get a warrant?
I do not know. I do not know myself.
Okay. I think they were in the 80s, Karl, but don't quote me on that. 85 maybe.
And we're switching over to TGIF, 1933 Industries.
How much time do we got?
We got a couple of minutes here, so we're still good. Shout out to Josh and the team if you're watching. They gave me a tour of the facility when I went with Todd in Vegas. They have a lot of cool things going on. So again, fundamentals and TA, put the two together, but let's see some TA.
Okay, so TGIF, try and be really quick here. Again, previous resistance, now we're seeing it as support. We've got a nice bounce out of here. Again, this is the weekly chart, by the way, because the daily chart's a bit messy, I find. So we got a nice bounce out of here. And, compared to Whaling Group, for example, TGIF has held above its August low. So yes, we've come down, we've given back a lot, but it did hold above its August low, which is good. So this support zone here, which was a previous resistance, is held. We've got two nice bounces out of it. So basically, most of 2018, TGIF has been trending down, and it's just recently that I would call this more horizontal movement. Again, looking big picture, we had a downtrend. We've kind of broken that downtrend because we broke the low here. We've set a higher low here as well. But now we're into a tightening trading range, which is, basically we're looking which way is the stock going to move next. Are we going to get a bullish break to the upside, or are we going to get a bearish break to the downside? If we bring up the daily chart, we've had 3 touches on this 54 area, so that looks like a significant resistance area right here as well at 49, 2 touches. So this to me is your near-term resistance, 49, support, 2 touches at 43. We've had 2 bounces off there. So we're into a tight trading range now. If it breaks here, to me, the next support zone, you're going to consolidate, hopefully form a higher low than here. I'm trying to see if I identified any indicators. On TGIF, another thing to keep in mind, again, share structure, very important. There were a bunch of debentures issued on this one at 45 cents conversion. That was back in September. I suspect that this sell-off you got on this attempted run, I understand that the whole sector sold off, but it was probably accentuated by those debentures being issued. People with equity position in the stock might have been tempted to sell their shares, raise money to fund their debenture purchase. So keep those in mind. Those don't become free trading for another 2 months, but keep those in mind. That's at 45 cents. Very important with these junior companies to know the share structure and what could be out there against you.
Yeah,
One last comment on TGIF. I think fundamentally, with everyone speculating that we could get some news out of the U.S. on changes to the way that marijuana laws, it tends to make you think we're going to get eventually a bullish breakout of here. And again, I don't mind if I'm along on a stock. I don't mind if this trades horizontally for a while and consolidates. The longer a consolidation you get, the bigger move you're going to get, whether up or down. Hopefully, if you're along on TGIF, it's going to be up. But the longer it consolidates horizontally, the more I personally feel like the bigger move you're going to get to the upside if you eventually break out. So not a bad thing to be consolidating, and the range is tightening up.
Always appreciate it, Johnny Mac. We're honestly, if you on our Facebook group, loving this awesome analysis by Johnny Mac. You go over to the Midas YouTube. A lot of people are liking this as well, because you put it in a way that people don't have much charting or TA experience can understand. But also just in general, people love seeing this stuff about the stocks. I think we spend too much time with news releases and those other elements. You have to remember, there is cheaper paper you have to look out for, like we were talking about, the debenture or just warrants in general, options. But to also look at what is the chart saying, because there are some people out there, they don't care about news releases or anything. They'll go just on charts. So you got to take the two of them together and put them together. There's they definitely are two.
Johnny Mac's complete
two
package.
peas in a pod. Is that
Complete
the old
package
school?
there, Johnny Mac. Looking at the free trading paper that's coming out.
The strongest setups on any stock are when the fundamentals and technicals are in alignment. So you get consolidation in a stock, like say TGIF, with some possible catalysts in the U.S. To me, that sets it up for a nice move going up if you get that bullish breakout.
Awesome. Well,
you can see on the screen.
Very much. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. One last thing. The selling that I was referring to earlier. I don't know if everyone at home can see this, but here's your institutional seller, ITG. Small lots being traded. They've been unloading all day. They are net almost 200,000 shares now today, ITG. So that's a lot of paper hitting the market from one seller, and that's again, I don't know where it's coming from or why they're selling, but yeah, at the end of the day, the buyers, there has to be enough people to buy it, or the price is going to have to correct until there's enough buyers just to soak that supply up.
Absolutely. Well, my good sir, always appreciate your time. We got to run. We're a little bit over, but we started a little bit late today. You're always welcome back on the show, and yeah, we'll speak to you soon, my good sir.
Thanks, John.
Happy Thanksgiving to our American friends. And one last thing, in these very tumultuous markets, just keep in mind the big picture, why everyone is investing to help themselves, their friends, their families. So be thankful for what you have, even when the markets are down. Learn from your mistakes, and let's go forward. Cheers.
Love it. Love it.
Let's end the show right there.
To our American brothers and sisters, happy Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Take care.
Take care.